Hey there everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I have two projects to share with you today. Both of them feature brand new products from Simon Says Stamp's Celebrate release. And what's really fun about these projects is we're going to use a stencil set that's actually not part of the release, but something that I think complements a lot of these products nicely. It's a stencil set that came out recently. But then I'm also going to be pairing this stencil design with other products, and I'm going to show you how you can take the same stencil and use a different technique to decorate that stenciled background, which will create completely different looks for these two cards. So as you can see, these cards don't look anything alike, but they have the same background used to create them. So this is a fun technique. I hope you will stay tuned for both cards and also stay tuned to the end when I'm going to be sharing some more information about Simon Says Stamp's Celebrate Release blog hop, which I'm participating in today. So the main stencil set that I used for these cards is the Groovy Bloom stencil, which I actually designed for Simon Says Stamp, and it was released not too long ago. It's a layering stencil set that allows you to create these really cute flowers, and I thought it would be fun to make two backgrounds and then turn them into completely different projects. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Stencil mat to help me layer these stencils. I find this mat is super helpful because it has that black square guide that allows you to line your stencils up within that square, and you'll know then that your layering stencils are aligned perfectly for each layer that comes after. So I'm using a variety of happy colors here. I've got watermelon, I have the new Zest color. I also have Simon Says Stamp's brand new Sky ink that is featured in that light blue color, which looks really pretty. Clay is also a newer color from the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated Ink collection, so I use that for the center of the yellow flowers. The brand new Night ink was the center for the blue flowers, and then finally I'll use watermelon for the center of the pinkish red ones. Then finally, the third layer, I'm going to use just two shades of green to create some variation for my leaves. Those are Sprout and also Field. So like I said, I did this twice, so I got two backgrounds. So now I can take both of these pieces and create some really cool cards with them. So I did the stenciling for both cards the exact same way. So you're just going to repeat this twice if you want to follow along with me. Let's now work on adding some interest to this panel. So we're going to take the brand new Feather Spiral embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder from the Celebrate release, and we're going to emboss over top of the stenciling. What's really cool about this technique is that it adds some subtle texture to your stencil design. I love this look. It's a really neat layering effect, and it's going to pair perfectly with the Whirl butterfly die that's part of the Celebrate collection. I die cut this from some white glitter cardstock, and it's pretty and sparkly all on its own. But I'm going to also step that die cut up a little bit so that it adds some extra interest to this butterfly, which is very simple. So I'm gluing the two butterfly pieces together to create a layered look. While that dries, I'm going to also add some shimmer to my background. With the Simon Says Stamp glue stick and some very light pressure, I'm just applying a little bit of glue onto the raised areas of my embossed design. Then I'm going to take some foil. This happens to be the Silver Sketch from Brutus Monroe, and I love how that just picks up on the raised areas, and it's going to create a glittery trail for my butterfly. I think it draws your eye up to the butterfly, and it also makes the butterfly look like it's flying. I did add a little bit more glue here and there just to add some very small touches on the bottom and also the top corner. Just a little bit. I hardly used any glue, which means I will get very little foil to transfer, but that's just enough to kind of tie everything in and create a little bit of a focal point here. So that background looks amazing, and that's going to pair perfectly with our butterfly. But like I said, I did want to step this butterfly up a little bit. So I'm bringing in my craft tacky glue again, and that's the glue I use to adhere the butterfly pieces together. And I'm going to draw a little bit of glue on the outer edges of the butterfly. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a place to sprinkle some glitter on top of. I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp's Chunky Unicorn glitter. This is such a fun glitter because it captures a lot of different colors within it, and I thought that would pair really nicely with the colors of my background. So this unicorn confetti chunky glitter from Simon Says Stamp is super cool. It looks great on top of this sparkly cardstock, and it's just fun to have that glitter encrusted look. So I'm going to then glue my butterfly down onto my card, again putting it around that trail so that it makes it look like the butterfly is floating across this sea of flowers. And then you'll notice this body, this is actually not part of the butterfly die set. This is actually from a previously released Whirl die set from Simon Says Stamp called Whirl Dragonfly, which pairs really nicely with the butterfly, and it worked perfectly for making this body. So my card panel is getting put onto an A2 size card that I made from some white cardstock. And then I'm going to bring in this Flower Power stamp set. Now, we're going to bring that stamp set back in for the second card, so stay tuned for that. But I just picked out a greeting from that. It was very simple, and I thought that the sentiment paired really nicely with the sizing that I had left over for this card. So I've stamped this onto some Princess cardstock from Rainbow Splash. It's a really nice pink color. And I'm going to use the coordinating die to cut the sentiment out. I always hold my dies down in place with very, very low tack tape from Simon Says Stamp. And then I just popped that sentiment up along that bottom corner to give me a nice small sentiment that paired nicely with the sizing of the butterfly. Now, one thing I did mention that I did not get to show on camera was after I embossed that feather swirl design onto my background, I did actually ink blend a little bit of Sprout ink onto the top left and bottom right corners. So it was just a small subtle blending in those two corners. I did not bring it too far into the background, but just enough to add a dusting of green there. I'm sorry I didn't have that to show you, but that's how I created that green effect on the background. All right, so moving on to the second panel that we made, I'm going to now stamp on top of this. This is also a really great way to add some cool layers to your backgrounds. So I'm going to use the Flower Power stamp set, which really matches nicely with the style of the flowers in the Groovy Bloom stencil. And these are really big images. They are also nice thin lines, so they look really awesome when you layer this on top of the smaller flowers that are stenciled. So I'm using the VersaFine Clear ink to stamp these because it's a really nice dark black image. And I also used the smaller flowers in addition to the larger ones just to get some variation here. And I'm also allowing these to overlap with the larger flowers because that's going to create a really unique look here. It's very modern, very playful. So I think that's really fun to create some added interest to this card. Then I'm going to flip this upside down. So on the back side, I can put some strips of Terrific tape there. And I'm putting this around all four edges of my card panel. This is so I can put together an edge-to-edge shaker card. I'm only removing the release paper though for 3 sides to start, just so that way I can start folding the plastic, which is a clear bag that Simon Says Stamp sells. And I'm just going to fold that plastic into those 3 edges of the adhesive. That leaves me one edge open so I can fill it with sequins. And then once I'm happy with the amount of sequins that are in place, I can remove the release paper on that final edge and then close everything up. I always cut off any excess that's hanging off the sides just to clean things up. But these fun yellow sequins all look super cute with these flowers and creates a really nice background for my focal point, which is going to be made with the Flower Power stencil. This stencil can be used on its own, but it also can be used to color in the Flower Power stamp. So it's got a lot of versatility to it. I'm not going to use it with the stamps. I'm going to use it on its own so that I can make a flower image that I can layer on top of my shaker card. So I ink blended with that same zest and clay ink to create the flower. That's going to give me this really nice bold image that's going to sit behind my greeting. Now, in addition to this flower, I'm also going to ink blend a couple of the leaves from this stencil. So I did use both Sprout and also Field to ink blend 3 different leaves, 2 of them are the same size, and then I did add 1 small leaf, and that's going to just add a little bit of variation and will also tuck really nicely up against my sentiment. So after I've ink blended these pieces, then I'm going to take the coordinating Flower Power dies, and what's nice is the dies work perfectly with both the stencils or the stamps. I die cut my images and then I'm going to start adhering them onto my shaker card, which is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch shaker. It's a full card front shaker. I did use foam tape for the flower, but for the leaves, I just used some liquid glue. And I'm going to layer the 2 larger leaves behind the flower, and then the smallest leaf I'm actually going to layer on top so that I can tuck it underneath of my greeting, which is also popped up with foam tape. So my card is pretty much complete at this point. I just want to add some embellishment, but I do want to cut off any excess that's hanging off the sides so that it'll fit nicely in an A2 envelope. The embellishments I used were some Positively Dazzling gems. These are the surf color, and that really added that nice pop of blue that goes really well with the background. So here's my finished shaker card, bright and happy, but check out how different these two stenciled backgrounds made exactly the same way look completely different on these cards. It's a really nice way to show you how much you can stretch one product and use it in multiple ways. Even though I use the same colors for the stenciling, you really would never notice that these cards were identical to start. So I hope you enjoyed these ideas that I've shared and you got some ideas on how you can use some of these new products from Simon Says Stamp with even something that you may already have, like the Groovy Bloom stencil. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I am participating in Simon Says Stamp's Celebrate Release blog hop. So if you want to see even more inspiration using the Celebrate collection, I encourage you to go over to my blog because I have links to the next stop in the hop as well as to the Simon Says Stamp blog where you can start over at the beginning. There's a lot to see, and there's also a chance to win $25 at every single blog. All you have to do is go to my blog, leave a comment, and that'll enter you to win a $25 gift certificate to Simon Says Stamp. And every stop within the hop also gives you a chance to win a $25 gift certificate. In addition, Simon Says Stamp is giving away this really nice Groovy Happy Birthday die. I love this die. I've used it before. It's really nice size too for all sorts of cards. And we're giving this away free with any purchase. So follow the instructions on the graphic for you to redeem that when you're purchasing this weekend. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in today and sticking with me to the very end. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks for watching.